Archangel Michael says this message found you for a reason, and before you dismiss that as another passing word, stop and listen closely, because what is being unveiled over your life right now is far larger than the frustration you have been carrying. There have been moments when you looked at your path and thought it made no sense. Doors closed too soon, answers delayed too long, people came and left without warning, and plans you trusted seemed to unravel in your hands. But there is something else you need to know. Heaven has not forgotten a single detail. What felt like random delay was not random at all. What felt like loss was not empty. What felt like confusion was not the end of the story. You have been walking through a season where the pieces did not seem to fit, yet unseen hands have been arranging them all along. Keep reading carefully, because the next revelation changes everything. Comment Amen if you are ready to see why this message arrived at this exact moment. I know how it feels to stand in the season where your prayers seem to echo back to you, where every step forward feels met with one more obstruction, one more detour, one more disappointment, that makes you wonder if you missed God somewhere along the way. But listen, child of God, because confusion is not proof of abandonment. Sometimes confusion is the covering over a process that is still unfolding. Archangel Michael stands as a witness to the battles you could not see, the accusations you did not hear, the traps you never stepped into because heaven intervened before you even knew there was danger. That is why some things did not work out. That is why certain relationships dissolved. That is why the path you wanted so badly never fully opened. You thought it was rejection, but in truth, it was rescue. You thought it was punishment, but in truth, it was protection. And there is another truth being revealed now, something you were not ready to understand before. Type protected if you sense that God has been shielding you in ways you only now begin to recognize. There were conversations happening around you that you never heard. Decisions were being made in silence. Opportunities were being withheld, not because you were forgotten, but because timing mattered more than your impatience could see. Heaven was not only guarding your steps, it was also preparing the weight of what you were being called to carry. Some blessings cannot enter a life that is still being shattered by fear. Some assignments cannot rest on hands that are still learning endurance. So the delay became a classroom, and the silence became a furnace, and the questions became the very place where your spirit was strengthened. Do not ignore this part. What looked like a closed chapter may actually have been the sealing of a door until you were ready to walk through the right one. There is a hidden blessing inside one of the places you call your greatest disappointment. And before long you will look back and realize that the thing you mourned was never meant to stay. Comment I believe if you are willing to trust that God was working while you were waiting. There is a scroll being opened over your life, and this is not poetic exaggeration. This is a heavenly pattern. The fragments you have been collecting, every conversation that stung, every silence that lasted too long, every apology that never came, every path that bent in an unexpected direction. These are not disconnected scraps. They are puzzle pieces, and what happens next is important. The pieces are beginning to connect. You have not seen the full picture because you were standing too close to the surface, too close to the pain, too close to the immediate frustration of what did not make sense. But when heaven lifts your eyes, the landscape becomes visible. Mountains that seem to block your future become landmarks showing you how far you have traveled. Valleys that felt endless become the very channels through which rivers were guided toward their destination. What seemed like delay was alignment. What seemed like a detour was divine redirection. Stay with this message because the map is being revealed slowly on purpose. Type chosen if you believe your life is not random. There is a hidden enemy that has tried to speak louder than truth. Bitterness. Regret. The whisper that says, you should have done more. You should have trusted less. You should have known better. You should have seen it coming. That voice is not your guide. It is the shadow of an unfinished story trying to make you judge the ending before the final pages are written. Archangel Michael says, do not partner with regret, because regret can make you misread mercy. It can make you call a delay a denial. It can make you call a detour a disaster. But heaven has been preserving you through what you thought was loss. Some people were removed because their presence would have blurred your discernment. Some opportunities vanished because they were too small for the life waiting ahead of you. And yes, there are blessings that required preparation before arrival. If they had come earlier, they would have overwhelmed you. So the waiting was not wasting you, it was shaping you. Comment, still standing, if you know that you are here by grace, not by accident. Keep reading, because there is more happening than you realize. In the unseen realm, there have been movements around your name, and not every movement has been opposition. Some of it has been approval. Some of it has been confirmation. A hidden decision has already been made regarding a doorway you thought was permanently sealed. An answer has been approaching quietly, without the drama you expected. This is why the atmosphere around you has felt heavy and electric at the same time, as though something is about to break open. Heaven often works in the stillness before it works in the visible. The river does not announce every turn before it reaches the sea, yet it never misses its destination. That is what your life is doing now. The waters have been redirected many times, but they are still moving toward the appointed hour. Before this season ends, you will understand why one thing had to end so another could begin. Type 777 if you receive the sign that divine order is already at work. I need you to imagine a mountain summit for a moment. At the bottom, the climb felt confusing, exhausting, and at times unfair. Every ridge looked like a setback. Every turn felt like another reason to question the journey. But at the summit, the view changes. You can see how one trail led around danger. You can see how one difficult climb kept you away from ground that would have collapsed beneath you. You can see the far horizon and realize the path was never empty. It was being laid stone by a wisdom you could not control. That is what is happening in your story. Some of the hardest terrain you crossed was actually keeping you alive long enough to reach what was meant for you. There was a blessing on the other side of maturity, not on the other side of panic. There was favor waiting for the version of you who had been refined by waiting. What happens next will shock you because the same places that once felt barren will begin to speak. Doors you stopped knocking on may open from the other side. Comment, I receive, if you are ready for heaven's timing, not human timing. Before we continue, I feel led to share something with you. Over the years, thousands of people have reached out asking for powerful prayers they could pray during difficult seasons of life. That's why I put together a collection of some of the most powerful faith-building prayers I know. These prayers have helped people find peace during anxiety, strength during hardship, and hope when they felt like giving up. The best part is that I decided to make it completely free. If you would like a copy, simply check the link in the description and I'll send it to you. Do not wait until another difficult season arrives. Take it now while it's available, and keep it close for the days ahead. Now, there is something else you need to know, and there is a conversation you do not hear, but it is taking place now. Not among people only, but in the realm of purpose. Your name has been spoken over situations that seemed done. Your future has been considered in rooms you never entered. Certain things were set aside because there was another level of assignment attached to you, one that could not be rushed without distortion. That is why the process has felt so exacting. Heaven is not improvising with your life. The scroll is precise. The record is careful, and though you have been tempted to call your life delayed, the truth is that your steps have been measured by a wisdom far beyond human urgency. Do not leave now. The next revelation is about the relationships you thought were wasted. Some of those connections were never meant to stay forever, but they were not meaningless. They revealed patterns, exposed wounds, and taught you the difference between noise and true alignment. Comment, my time is coming, if you sense a shift preparing to break through. There are moments when the enemy tries to weaponize your memory, showing you old losses to make you distrust the future. But God is speaking even into those memories, saying, "Look again." The relationship that broke your heart may have been one of the very tools that forced you into deeper prayer. The job that ended abruptly may have pushed you toward the destiny that would have remained dormant otherwise. The move that failed may have protected your household from an unseen storm. The opportunity that slipped away may have been too small to hold the weight of your later calling. This is why Archangel Michael says not to curse what God used as a threshold. Some of the pain you resent was the doorway to wisdom you now carry. And wisdom is not small. Wisdom is a shield. Wisdom is a key. Wisdom is the reason you can stand in this moment with more discernment than before. Stay with me, because before long, one of the very losses you still question will become the clearest proof that heaven was guiding you. Type faith if you are willing to trust the unseen work. There is a hidden pattern in your life that only becomes obvious when the pieces are laid side by side. You may not have recognized it because each event arrived dressed differently. One came as disappointment, another as silence, another as interruption, another as forced waiting, another as sudden release. Yet all of them carried the same message: not yet, not there, not in that form. Heaven has been using repetition to teach you discernment, but not repetition of pain, repetition of redirection. A river bends many times before it reaches the sea, and no bend is wasted when the destination is certain. You are being carried somewhere. The current has not failed. It has been rerouted with purpose. And this is why you keep sensing that one chapter is closing, even if the visible evidence has not fully caught up. The inner witness already knows something is ending, and something larger is preparing to emerge. The coming days may hold a confirmation that shocks you. Comment, "Yes, Lord," if you believe God can end one thing and begin another in the same breath. Do not underestimate the power of being unseen while God is working. You may have felt overlooked, but in heaven you were never invisible. There were moments when angels stood watch over your path, not to make life easy, but to ensure that what tried to consume you could not fully reach you. There were attacks that lost their strength before they touched your threshold. There were accusations that never made it into the verdict of heaven. There were plans against you that dissolved because your assignment still had chapters left to write. This is not just comfort, this is instruction. Stop measuring your life only by what you can currently explain. Some of the strongest evidence of God's hand is the trouble that did not get the final word. Some of the deepest miracles are the ones you only recognize later. Before this week ends, you may begin to see one of those hidden rescues with startling clarity. Comment, "God is working," if you know heaven has been active, even in silence. There is also a blessing coming that will require you to be steady, not frantic, not bitter, not exhausted by comparison. Steady. That is why the pressure has been so intense, because the blessing attached to your future is not fragile, but it requires a healed posture to receive it without fear. You have been in preparation for what you once prayed for, even if it did not feel glorious. Preparation often looks like restriction before it looks like reward. It looks like being slowed down before being sent forward. It looks like hidden work before public evidence. What you call delay, heaven may call training. What you call frustration, heaven may call alignment. And what you call being passed over may actually have been the mercy of waiting until your name would be recognized in the right place by the right people at the right time. There is a door already beginning to move, though it may not look fully open yet. Stay alert. Type 333 if you believe angelic timing is surrounding your next step. I want you to notice how many times you were almost derailed, yet somehow preserved. The near miss, the last-minute cancellation, the strange shift in plans, the person who suddenly withdrew, the road that became blocked. You were angry then, but maybe now you can see that what appeared disruptive was saving you from a future grief you could not yet imagine. Heaven sees farther than your frustration. Heaven sees outcomes. Heaven sees crossroads. Heaven sees the hidden agreements you would have made if the wrong door had stayed open. That is why some closures are mercies in disguise. And yes, that can be hard to accept when you are grieving the version of your life you thought you would have by now. But grief is not proof that you missed God. Sometimes grief is simply the shedding of a dream that was too small for what was coming. Keep your heart open because another piece of the puzzle is about to appear. Type "I trust God" if you are surrendering the old script. Many people watching this message have been carrying burdens they never talk about. If that sounds like you, I want to give you something special. I created a free prayer guide filled with powerful prayers for protection, breakthrough, peace, healing, and strength. Thousands of believers have already downloaded it and shared how much it encouraged them during difficult moments. There is absolutely no cost. I simply wanted to place this resource into the hands of people who need it most. If you feel led, go to the description and claim your free copy before continuing. One prayer prayed at the right moment can change more than you realize. Now listen carefully, because the next part of this message is important. There is a name, a place, or a conversation that will soon return to your awareness in a way you did not expect. I will not over-explain it too early, because part of the revelation is in the timing of its appearance. But pay attention, what once seemed random is beginning to reveal its thread. An old connection may resurface, not necessarily to repeat the past, but to close a loop that was left incomplete. A document, a message, or a decision may come forward at the exact hour you had nearly stopped hoping. This is the kind of divine orchestration that shocks the human mind, because it happens after you have emotionally let go. Heaven often waits until your grip loosens before it places the next gift into your hands. Do not miss this by becoming too familiar with disappointment. A shift is approaching. The landscape is changing. Comment "Blessed" if you believe God can still surprise you with mercy and timing. And now the revelation grows deeper. Not everything you lost was removed because it was bad. Some things were removed because they would have anchored you to a smaller version of yourself, a smaller expectation, a smaller circle, a smaller identity. You were never meant to remain in a room that could not house your growth. You were never meant to keep feeding what could not feed your calling. That is why the severing hurt so much. It touched areas where your trust had become attached. Yet even there, heaven was faithful. What comes next will not be built on confusion alone. It will be built on clarity. The fog is thinning. The scroll is opening. The map is making sense. And once you see the pattern, you will not just understand your pain. You will understand your protection. That kind of understanding changes a person. It turns survivors into witnesses, and witnesses into carriers of peace. Type "chosen" if you are ready to stand in that peace. There is a reason this message is reaching you before the week ends. Timing matters. The next few days carry the weight of unveiling, and you may notice that things feel unusually final, unusually clear, or unusually tense before resolution arrives. That tension is often the last resistance before breakthrough. Do not interpret the pressure as a reason to retreat. Instead, stay still enough to hear what heaven is saying beneath it. A closed door may suddenly become obvious as a blessing in disguise. A delayed answer may arrive with details that make you say, "Now I see why it had to wait." A burden you have carried for far too long may begin to lift, not all at once, but enough for you to feel the difference. And that difference is the beginning of peace. Comment "Ready" if you are prepared to receive what God has been preparing for you. Archangel Michael says you are entering a moment where the past will no longer control the interpretation of your future. That is a strong word, but it is true. You have spent enough time under the shadow of why. Why did they leave? Why did it take so long? Why was I overlooked? Why did I have to suffer that loss? Why did the door close after I had finally hoped again? But soon the question changes. Soon you will ask, how did God weave this together so beautifully? The very events that once looked like contradictions will reveal themselves as coordinates. You are being guided by a map hidden inside the seeming mess. And when the landscape becomes clear, you will see that the mountain was not there to block you. It was there to show you how high you had climbed. You will see the river was not lost. It was always finding its destination. You will see that the scroll was never empty. It was simply sealed until the appointed hour. Comment "I believe" if you can sense the shift beginning now. So remain until the end of this message, because the final piece is not just that God had a plan. The final piece is that the plan was more specific than you realized. The hardship had purpose. The delay had purpose. The hidden detour had purpose. The relationship that ended had purpose. The closed door had purpose. Even the silence had purpose. And the shock you are about to experience is not merely that things worked out, but that they worked together. That is the miracle. Not isolated moments, not random mercy. A pattern, a design, a heavenly thread running through everything that looked disconnected. Before this season fully closes, you may notice one event, one message, or one opening that suddenly makes the entire past make sense. When that happens, do not be afraid of the tears. They will not be tears of confusion anymore. They will be tears of recognition. Comment "Amen" if you are ready to let heaven rewrite the meaning of your story. And now I speak peace over the part of you that is tired from trying to understand it all. You do not need to carry the weight of every unanswered question into the next chapter. Some answers will come quickly, and some will unfold like dawn across a horizon, slowly but surely, until the whole sky changes. Either way, what is yours cannot be stolen when heaven has already marked it. The doors that were meant for you are not gone. The timing that was delayed is not destroyed. The blessing prepared for you is still coming, and when it arrives, it will not arrive empty. It will carry confirmation, restoration, and a sense of holy astonishment. You will know that God had been there all along, even in the chapters that hurt most. If this message touched the part of you that has been waiting for understanding, type "Yes, Lord." Because what happens next will not only shock you, it will heal you. And when the revelation comes, you will finally see that every detour was leading you home. Before you leave, remember that my free prayer collection is waiting for you in the description below. Thousands of people have already downloaded it and used these prayers during seasons of anxiety, uncertainty, spiritual battles, and breakthrough. I made it completely free because I want every believer to have access to powerful prayers when they need them most. If this message encouraged you today, make sure you claim your free copy before you go. And if this message spoke to your heart, subscribe to the channel, share it with someone who needs encouragement, and leave your prayer request in the comments so this community can stand with you in faith. May God bless you, strengthen you, and guide every step ahead.